Hey guys, welcome back. You do know that I'm just starting out the channel, and I have a lot of people that I know that tell me that I need to do my KSG. So today I'm doing the KSG. So the KSG is a bullpup shotgun, and the unique thing behind it is it's got two magazine tubes, right? So you have to manually switch the tubes, but it does have two tubes on it, and it is set up in that bullpup configuration. So empty, the thing weighs 9 pounds. Okay, so it is heavy, right? It's a little bit heavy. And the 9 pounds is how much mine weighs. I don't know the actual weight on one fresh out of the box. So I did go through. This is kind of like my. I don't know. Maybe like a flagship firearm or something. But I've done everything I could to this one, and everything I've wanted to do. There's not anything else. There's one other thing I'm kind of going back and forth on, but it's pretty much done. So this is my KSG 12. So start with the hydro dip. This is my fourth or fifth. This is my fifth gun that I've hydro dipped. I wanted this one to look a little bit older. So there's things that you can do when you get into this. You can sand stuff down certain ways. You can stretch the hydro dip out when the film. You can stretch out when you do it. You can, while it's rinsing, you can kind of go and peel off some of the areas that you might not want done. There's several things you can do in the rinse process, and there's several things you can do while you dip it. So I wanted this one to look a little bit older. I overactivated it on purpose for some of the things. That way, when you overactivate it, it gives you like pin drops, right? So by overactivating it, if you get the pin drops in there, and or the pin dots, sorry, and the base coat underneath shows through, and it kind of looks like it's ate up a little bit, right? It kind of gives it a little bit of like a battle worn style look or whatnot. But if you're looking through the video and you see some of that stuff on here, just know that the hydro dip, I did do on purpose. Some of the imperfections in it. Now there's some imperfections in here that I did not do on purpose. Um, but at the end of the day, it's done. To me, it looks good. I like the way it looks. I like the way it functions. Everything on here that I've done has a functionality to it. But let's get into it. So with the camo and giving it that older look and all that, I wanted to give it some type of whatever. So I did do the bomber stickers on the front. Right, it's not airbrush or nothing. They are bomber stickers, but I think it looks pretty cool. It might not look cool to you, or it might look crazy, or whatever the case. But I think it looks pretty cool. It gives it just like that extra little bit, right? But anyways, so I want to get into it. If you're doing a kel-tec KSG, if you're gonna do anything to it, and you want to, build it up, hightechcustoms.com and mcarbo.com is the way to go. Everything that you're gonna need is on the two of those sites, and I'll get into some of the things that are on both, and then some that are like maybe exclusive to one, right? So I will say that the trigger spring kit and the trigger is exclusive to only mcarbo, right? But some of the other stuff I've seen on both websites. If you were going to take apart your KSG, you're going to want to purchase this, right? So this is a vice block. So you put your firearm through this here, you slide this in, and then you tighten down your vise on the outsides. That way you can break loose the barrel nut and the ends for the tubes, right? Because when you do the followers, you got to take the tubes off. One of the things I realized when I was taking it apart is this right here, that plate. You've got to take off the nuts or the ends for the mag tubes, and then you also got to take off the that barrel nut, right? So that's the tool you're going to need for the barrel nut. Okay, it's on a 1/2 inch socket wrench. But that's what you're going to need to get the barrel nut off. And then this here is for the magazine tubes. Okay, so you break loose the first set with this, and then once it comes apart, you take this down, you screw this into the tube, and then just enough to where it's tight on this part, but it's not too tight to where you can't move this. You want this to spin freely when you do it, but you just tighten it down, hold it, and then you take a wrench and you pop, you pop the things out. But to get the kel-tec apart, you're going to need to buy those tools as well, or you're not going to be able to do anything. And those are both on mcarbo.com and on hightechcustoms.com. So I don't have no sponsors or nothing crazy, right? I'm telling you what you need to do or what you're going to need, okay? And you can also find some of this stuff on eBay or Amazon as well. But, all right, let me show you that the gun is unloaded. So there's nothing in there. It's completely unloaded, and then it is on safe. So start off with the front of it, right? So that would be the front there. The breech device is from High Tech Customs, and the spikes I actually got from mcarbo. But they're called bayonet spikes, but they're the same length as that muzzle device. So I got them for the extra grip. If I ever have to breach anything, which I probably never will, but every advantage you can have, right? Essentially. So that would just get a good grip. It would add for the muzzle device, right? This is a streamlight right here. This streamlight here is staying on this firearm. So I went ahead and painted it to match everything. And I didn't want to do just green paint, right? Because I didn't want everything to look the same, or I didn't want it to look clustered. And I wanted a little bit of breakup on everything. So all the parts come black, and the plate is black. So the light's black, everything's black. I didn't want the whole front of my gun to be black when I got camo everywhere else. So I did the tan to break up between the two greens. This is a True Glow angle Picatinny rail. I'm sure other companies make it. That's just the one. I was at the range and I needed it for something else, so I went ahead and grabbed it for something else, and then decided I didn't need it for the other project, so I used it for that. One thing I will say about the kel-tec too is nothing is one piece when it comes apart, right? Your forend, you've got all these little holes right here. You got to take the screws out, and then it separates to come off, right? You're not going to slide that off in one piece. The lower, as you can see, has screws all through it. You're going to take all them screws out to separate the lower to do anything to it, right? And then same with the stock part at the end, right? There's screw holes all through that you need to take apart unscrew and take out to be able to separate that as well. When you take it apart, you need to really pay attention because this piece here, the stock part, has a flat piece of metal in between the plastic, and that flat piece of metal looks like it would be even when you put it into the pins, but one side is actually taller than the other when you put the pins in. So when I put it back together, I put the long side down, and my bolt was catching on that metal, and it wasn't wanting to go forward or anything. There was a lot of time and frustration trying to figure out what was going on with it, and I finally figured it out. So that's something to look for if you guys are going to take it apart, right? All the way apart. You don't have to take it apart to put the butt pad on or nothing like that. The only reason I did take that apart was to paint it and hydro dip it. I will say too, if you get into hydro dipping, I would make sure that I primer, base coat, and then hydro dip. But when you do your primer and your base coat, I would allow like a day in between to get a good solid hardening on the paint before you dip it. This is hydrodip.com. This is their camo multicam. It's not the actual multicam brand, but it's basically multicam, right? It's like their version of it. So I am running the Magpul flip up sights. The reason I run the Magpul flip up sights is because when they stand up, I can still see my front sight through this red dot. So if this red dot, the battery dies or something crazy, I can still use my sights, right? This is a SIG Romeo 5, so it's actually motion activated. So when you're going through and you're trying to defend your home in the middle of the night, the last thing I want to do with trying to get everything else ready on this is to have to turn on a red dot. So I went with the motion activated for that particular reason. And then you come in here, you're messing with it, you're doing videos or whatnot, and you every time you move it, it comes on. So I'm sure I gotta change the battery out soon. So I am running the Magpul vert grip on here, and the reason I'm doing, because if you look what I'm holding, my thumb rests right there. So I can hit my light whenever I need to. I've looked at a bunch of the other grips. I understand what they're saying with some of the other ones. I get it. But you can't run a light on a lot of those. So, and I was looking at a pressure plate, but I don't want the wires hanging. Okay, I do have the pressure plate for it. But, you know, if I would put it down here, I mean, it's pointless because then I could just be hitting it with my thumb. But the vert grip is from Magpul. And the reason I run the vert grip is because if you're doing whatever you need to do, right, you're defending your home, if you're law enforcement and you're using this, if you're doing government work with this, something like this, God forbid you can't use your hand, right? You need two hands to operate this. You need to be able to hold it and hit that foregrip. God forbid something happens to your hand, you can't use it. You can still catch it with your arm and move forward. So every advantage that I think I could have, I'd like to have, right? So that's why I went with the vert grip. I know that a lot of stuff online says that these are going to break off or whatever the case. I have tried to break this off. I have put a lot of force in it trying to break it. I can't break it. I haven't been able to. So it's going to stay on there. All right. Moving backwards. I do have, let's see if I can't get this there. The M-Carbo aluminum trigger. So, and when I got the trigger, I went ahead and got the trigger spring kit as well. So the trigger spring kit sets it up to where that's now a 3-pound trigger. So I'm gonna show you that it is empty again, right? You come in here and you pull that trigger with a little bit of pressure. Oh, I gotta take it off safe. A little bit of pressure, it's done. Come back, a little bit more pressure. I mean, that break and reset is crazy, right? It's super smooth. It is night and day, I promise, between the polymer one and that one. I also went with the Talon grips. So the Talon grips is like skateboard tape. Once you get your grip on there, you're done. Your grip staying, you are good to go. I've tried to throw water on my hands to try to get myself to slide around on that. I have not been able to. So, and they also do make, it's on the way, I haven't received it yet. They make the Talon grips that'll fit on these Magpul vert grips and with the Magpul AR grips, as well as standard AR grips. So Talon grips has a ton of stuff on their website that'll work with a lot of other manufacturers as well as stock manufacturers. So they have them out there for the Glocks and everything. And this grip is, I mean, it's second to none. Like it's a really, really good grip. And once you get your grip on that, you don't got to worry about it no more. Okay. So it does have the crossbar safety. I am not a fan of hollow handles. So I did get the plug for it. It does hold around in there, but I just wanted to plug because I'm not a fan of the hollow handles. Moving back, I do have the Hi-Tech Customs extended selector switch. With the extended selector switch, I mean, this is super smooth. So what they did was the stock one only ended right there at the bottom, right? And it screwed into this hole. So with Hi-Tech Customs, theirs is super smooth all the way around. You're not going to catch it on nothing. And there's aluminum washer in there, like a thicker washer. So when you tighten it, that washer is going to hit the gun before your switch does. So there's no way to over tighten this, which is crazy. And it's super smooth. Like they put a lot of thought into that. And it's a must, I feel like. And again, something happens to your hand, right? You can't use it. This is designed to be able to hit it with your wrist, right? So you switch your tubes with the wrist without even changing your grip. So that's super, super cool. And then in here, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see them, but I did do the aluminum followers from M Carbo. The plastic ones did have like some catch here and there. These aluminum ones I've had no issues with. I did go with a single point sling as well. The only downfall to this is all of these, or your KSGs, they have push out pins, right? The takedown. So this screws in, so you don't get the push out no more, right? You have to have a tool to take it apart, which with this, I don't see a reason why you'd be in the field and you'd want to take this apart. And you can't get down into anything. It's all closed up right there. For your lower, there's really no need to even take it apart out in the field, to be honest with you. And then I went with this is from Missouri Tactical. So I got the butt pad not for the cushion, right? Because I don't think this kicks very bad. It's just me personally. I don't think it kicks very bad. What I got this for was these big knobs. You see these big knobs here? So the stock one, and it's wider than the stock one. The stock one had like this little curve to it. It was kind of flat, and then it had like the kel-tec squares. You're doing whatever you're doing with this thing, and it gets wet. I believe that would have slid around. And like I said earlier with the angle grip things, with this, I want a good grip, and I want it to stay, right? So them knobs, when you get wet or anything, once they get into whatever your plate carrier, your shirt, whatever, it's not moving around, right? So that's why I went with that there. But yep, that's my whole opinion and review on the KSG. It is, for me, I've put about 400 rounds through it. A mixture of everything. I had like dove shot and like regular bird shot and buckshot. It doesn't kick very bad in my opinion. And you know, if you're a gun enthusiast or a collector or whatever the case, something like this is very unique, right? I think Smith & Wesson just came out with one similar to this. But, you know, something like this is not something you see every day. It's definitely pretty cool in my opinion. And for self-defense or, you know, law enforcement, home defense, law enforcement, you know, even just a range gun, I think that it would work out for any need that you really need for it. So, but, you know, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.